You gotta fish for the lost. Everywhere you go, you gotta fish for the lost. Everywhere you go, you gotta fish for the lost. Everywhere you go, on the street that you hold, when you're walking all alone, in the highways and the byways, in the highways and the byways, you gotta fish for the lost. Everywhere you go, you gotta fish for the lost. Everywhere you go, you gotta fish for the lost. Everywhere you go.
Well, hello to everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Fishing Report. I'm your host, Jeremy Butt, and this is a series which is designed to shed light on evangelism. As we talk about the church and the work of the Lord, I believe there are all kinds of videos dealing with Bible study and particular aspects of ministry that you could find out there, pretty much every flavor. But I was contemplating one day that there is not a lot out there that I could find that is specifically talking about evangelism. And so for those of you who have tuned in to these episodes, I've done two of these, did one with Chris Holly and another one with Matt Wallen. And so I am pleased today for my third episode to have my good friend Chase Turner with us. And Chase, I hope you are doing well this morning, brother.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, doing very well. Appreciate the opportunity to get to visit about such an important topic.
Fantastic. We are so glad that you are with us. And I want to make just a quick announcement as Chase knows this. I've talked to him about this, but I was excited after a couple of episodes. Some of you remember that I used to have something on Facebook and Instagram called 60 Seconds in the Scriptures, and that was kind of what I was known for. But eventually I brought those to a close, but for some reason or another, I was kicked off of the Meta platform, and some people had noticed that I just went missing, kind of like I went AWOL, you know. And I actually had a buddy of mine up in the Portland, Tennessee area kind of asking me some questions about that. What happened to you? And I said, well, they kicked me off. And so I said, I'm on YouTube, but I'm excited to make the announcement that beginning just as of here recently, we're going to be on Ministry League, and I am excited about that. I'd had conversations with Paul Sperlin and Caleb Sampson. They're doing a great job with this work, and so hopefully that will mean that more people will be able to tune into these and to benefit from this. And so you can find these as well on my channel at Jeremy Butt 1201 on YouTube. And if you find the guy who's holding a big smallmouth bass, that is the right channel. That is my profile picture that I have there. We're excited to have Chase with us, and so I want to give Chase the floor without taking up any more of his time. Chase, begin by telling us just a few minutes worth about yourself. Those who don't know you, who are tuning in right now, what would you want them to know about you?
Well, I grew up a missionary's kid in Canada, and then we moved back to Arkansas. Yeah,
Canada.
it was a long time ago. And so I've dropped the A since then. But no, went to school at Freed-Hardeman, which is where I met Jeremy for the first time. Graduated in '06, and met my wife when I was in Mexico as part of the study abroad program. She's from Ohio. And so we got married right after we graduated in '06, and we now have 4 kids, and we're living in West Monroe, Louisiana. I was blessed to spend most of my career working in a online Spanish preacher training program with a gentleman named Larry White. And the Herald Truth reached out back in 2022 to see if I'd be interested in taking that work and kind of combining it with some mission efforts here in the U.S. and the Spanish-speaking world here. And so we kind of merged what I was doing with some things Herald of Truth wanted to be doing. And very long story short, back in August of last year, I was asked to serve as the president of the Herald of Truth. And whenever I was asked to serve, I let them know my primary focus, if I take on this role, is going to be evangelism in the Spanish-speaking world. And that was something that was really developing quickly, and they saw the value in that, and so they said okay. And so we didn't stop doing English evangelism. We still help churches with that, but our primary focus is now on the Spanish-speaking side of things, and it's been a big blessing to be part of that.
Amen. Chase is doing a wonderful work with Herald of Truth, and we were privileged to work together for a little while when Greg Swindle was serving as the president. Chase and I were both in differing roles, respectively, with Herald of Truth, and so that's where I really got to know him and love him and appreciate him. And we appreciate what you do, Chase, for the kingdom. And Chase has such an evangelistic heart. That was one of the reasons I wanted to include him on this program. And so I want to take the next question to you, Chase, as I put this to you. What was your spark for evangelism?
So growing up as a preacher's kid, you see if your preacher's an effective evangelist, you learn some really good tools. And so that played a big role in my desire to be to share the story of Jesus. But I would say what really sparked my desire to do that was when I learned a second language. And learning Spanish gave me a tool that allowed me to share Jesus with a group of people that in some ways and in places were unreached. And so being given and I consider that a gift. I mean, I had to study and I had to learn the language, but it's a gift to be able to do that, to have the privilege to get to do that. And so learning how to speak Spanish really sparked a big part of that. And that was primarily in Mexico when I was at Freed at the study abroad program, and being there. And then the first trip I made to Honduras was where it really got put into practice. And that was when I was at Freed, and then post Freed, getting started in a Spanish speaking church, helping them out. I mean, it's just there were lots of little sparks, I would say, along the way that just, if you ever find yourself at a lull, sometimes you find an opportunity that kind of kicks that, lights that flame. And so that was a big part of it. Learning a second language is probably one of the bigger sparks that pushed me towards being more evangelistic.
Well, I knew that you would have some good insight on that. And with being such an evangelist at heart, I just know that there's always something that's going to kickstart someone in that direction. And so I know that will be different things for different people. I appreciate you sharing that with us this morning. And of course, one of the things you'll learn about Chase, especially with Herald of Truth having such Hispanic ministry focus right now, and you've heard some of his reports. If any of you have any dealings with Herald of Truth, you've kind of seen what direction you're going with that, whether you've heard from Chase or whether you've seen some things that he's written. And with him having such extensive experience with foreign missions, even as you heard him talk about studying abroad even a little while ago. Chase, the next question I guess I would ask you, how have your foreign mission efforts that you have been on, regardless of where they've been, how has any of that experience been helpful in your local evangelistic efforts where you live?
Mission trips have really been monumental in helping with local outreach, because it's one thing to understand and speak another language, but you can't really be effective in reaching other people groups if you don't understand their culture. And to really understand culture, foreign mission trips are vital. And so I was able to spend 6 weeks in Mexico when I was at Freed, and that was more of a study abroad than it was perhaps a mission trip. But everything after that, every trip I made was missional in mind. And having not just an appreciation, but better understanding of the culture allowed me to see the value in seeking to understand other people as opposed to seeking to be understood as an evangelist. And oftentimes I think we miss that. We want people to know the gospel, so we have to tell it to them. And that's true, it's important. But if we don't understand their culture and where they're coming from, it's going to be a lot more challenging to effectively present the gospel to them. So foreign mission trips help you have a better understanding of their family life, their religious background, what they perceive as justice and injustice. And so when I think about our opportunities now to help what used to be a foreign mission field that's now become a domestic mission field here in the US, when we think about trying to help them, it's become a big tool in understanding their culture. So those mission trips have really allowed us to better understand Hispanic people living here in the US now and how we can more effectively reach them.
Amen. That is such a big thing, trying to understand the culture of the people that we're trying to reach. And that's so vitally important. I appreciate you sharing that. I knew you'd be the man to ask that question to, as I was trying to think of some things during this interview that we could talk about. Okay, so with you being the president of Herald of Truth, and I know you talked about there's been a shift in especially the extra emphasis with the Hispanic ministry, so to speak. So I wanted to ask you, what are some new tools that Herald of Truth has going right now? Whether that's something that's brand new or maybe it's been in use for maybe even just a short period of time. What are some new things going on with Herald of Truth right now that you would want people to know about that are working as far as evangelistic efforts?
Sure. The thing that we offer to churches that want to be more effective in reaching their community, both in English and in Spanish, um, we want to be a one-stop shop, so to speak. We want to know what we're good at, and we want to be able to provide that in the best possible way. And so most ministries need a lot of help with technology, with marketing, with content production. And so when we help churches, if I have a meeting church, the tools we offer, one is just leadership training, both in English and in Spanish. And so if they want to help reach the Spanish community, we primarily look at three areas. And I'm an old school preacher at heart, and so alliteration is important to me. But we really focus on your plan. What do you want this to look like? Is this going to be just an English church, bilingual church, two separate services? Like, what is your vision for what you want your evangelistic efforts to look like? After you have that plan in place, we look at your personnel. How can we develop the people, or are there already developed people that can help provide a specific service or volunteer time, whatever that looks like, for their outreach? And then we look at the product. What is going to draw the church or the people in your community to your church? And once you have those three things in place, the tools we offer to really help have the church have a greater face in the community. We customize websites for every church that partners with us. We customize commercials for them. So if they want to do just outreach commercials, we'll do that. If they want to get involved with geofencing, which is just very targeted marketing, we allow, allow is the wrong word, but we build the commercials, we build flyers, all the promotional materials they could need. We'll build that for them and help them advertise that. In addition to that, we help them better understand different social media circles in their community that they can tap into for free. And just for example, in our community, we offer English classes. Esteban was teaching those, and we didn't even have to pay for some of the advertising. We get in Facebook and just Hispanos de West Monroe, just Hispanics in West Monroe. There's a group of 7,000 people there. And so we built a flyer, put it in there, and the first night, 25 people showed up. And so you can target specific groups that already exist just by joining the group and putting a flyer in there. But a lot of times we don't think to do that. I'll put it on my social media and hope for the best. Well, you may not know the right people that need the services you're offering. So how do you find those people and specifically target them? And so trying to help people be more aware of the best way to market what they're doing is probably the biggest tool that we offer.
That's great. It's such a wonderful blessing to know that in the church we have so many different resources available to us, and we appreciate what you do at Herald of Truth. And so it's been a wonderful thing being affiliated with that organization, some of the people that I have been able to meet. Of course, even going back to when I reached out to Greg Swindle, I was asking him on the front end after I got to know him, hey, do you have anything that you could use me for with Herald of Truth? And he said, well, let me think about that and I'll get back to you. And I don't think it took him too long because he knew how connected I was. And so he said, well, we need to utilize that. So anyway, I had, I guess, some different roles and titles throughout a short period of time with Herald of Truth, but that was a blessing with all the different people I was able to come into contact with and be at some of the lectureships and setups and whatnot. And so you are doing a great work. We appreciate it very much. Chase, what I will tell you is that I will keep you on after we end our podcast here in just a little bit. And so just stay on, don't go anywhere. I'll keep you on so we can talk some more at the end. But I want to remind everyone, as we've heard from Chase and what's going on with Herald of Truth, on the fishing report, I am reminded of the words of my dad, Foster Butt, who would talk about fishing, and he'd say, you know, you have to keep your line in the water. Well, it's no different with evangelism because we've got lots of people who are out in the world who need Jesus. It's going to be up to us to share the story as we are seeking to save the lost, just as Jesus would do when he came to this world. And as we understand, evangelism is an ongoing process, and it's great to be able to share some time to talk about what's going on as it relates to evangelism. Chase, I appreciate you joining us today. Do you have any last words for the people out there in video land before we end the Zoom call and recording here?
Sure. No, it's an honor to be on here to get to visit with you. And if anybody's got any questions, if they want to start a Spanish work, if they have one, they need some help, if they need a bilingual preacher, we have a huge network trying to find work as well. So we've got a lot of preachers looking for jobs that are bilingual. And so if the Herald of Truth or I can personally be of service in the churches, my email is chase@heraldoftruth.org, and I'll be glad to visit with anybody who wants to visit about those things.
That was the last thing I was going to ask you, if you'd share your contact info, and you beat me to that. So I appreciate it, Chase. Thanks for joining us today, and for everyone who tuned in, we appreciate you very much. Stay tuned for another episode of the Fishing Report. I've been your host, Jeremy Butt, and my good friend and brother as a guest today, Chase Turner, the president of Herald of Truth. Everybody have a wonderful day.